Funny enough, I'm actually being tested at the moment for autism.
Oh no!
So maybe it's something to do with that.
It's pretty high functioning then, at least.
Oh yeah. The think if anything, it'll be Asperger's. I mean, are you? Is this interesting subject matter? Is this something we want to talk about? A little
Yes.
Okay, so
teach us about your psychological shortcomings. Sure.
So what happened, right, was I've had like, it's impossible to explain without like, I find it really difficult to articulate. But I mean, part of why I do the channel is I have these kind of like meticulous, obsessive qualities in my personality. I find like conversations really frustrating when they get cut short, and like I overthink. It just sounds like overthinking, but there's more to it than that. And so
it's definitely overthinking it.
Well, no, because this is where there's a bit more information comes into it. So my mom has always thought I had autistic tendencies because she works with autistic children of all kind of levels of functionality, and so she works with autistic children, and she's she makes like,
oh god, so you basically got this sort of Damocles over you that you're gonna be labeled autistic at the slightest sign.
Do you know what though? I since being told that I'm very likely to have autism, I'm actually more comfortable in myself. Like I feel like, that explains a lot of things. Like stuff that I was like, oh shit, I don't get why this frustrates us so much, or like I don't get why I don't empathize with this particular thing. I can kind of be like, well, no, it makes sense because like my brain just works differently. Assuming that I do have autism, I haven't I must stress that I haven't.
You're definitely a goddamn normie.
Yeah, I haven't actually been. Well, you say that, right? Let us finish. I haven't actually been fully diagnosed with it. Just because of the system that is in place in the UK and how adult learning disorders are diagnosed. So my mum's always been insisting that I was autistic and that, and some had happened. I can't even remember what, where I had something of like, I guess you could call it like an autistic freak out, assuming I am autistic. I had some kind of freak out over some. I literally can't even remember what it was. Anyways,
I could imagine you freaking out. That would be hilarious.
Anyway, so I spoke to my mom about it, and my mom's like, "Oh yeah, when I'm saying that I think you're autistic, I'm not actually joking." And I was like, I thought it was all just like, because she's like, oh, you've got your quirks, you've got your ways, you've got your, like, I do.
When was this?
Oh, this is an ongoing conversation that's accumulated over years, but sort of recently came to fruition.
It sounded like it may have been when you were really young.
Well, this is a conversation that I had fairly recently, and my mom said, when you were really young, you actually got diagnosed with autism. And I went, what? I'm like, how? What do you mean? I got like, what? Like, did you not tell us this? And she said,
did you ask for a 1 out of 10 rating for your autism?
Well, what she said was she'd feared that I had autism. She said she exaggerated when she said I got diagnosed with it. She said that she'd had concerns that I might have autism when I was a child because I had like a lot of unusual tendencies. So for example, every day at 4 p.m, and this was like before I could even speak really, like I was just kind of like climbing and toddling about. Every day at 4 p.m, I would climb into my high chair and demand food, and it wouldn't matter if I'd just eaten or if nobody had said anything. And it's like, and obviously I couldn't read the time, but literally exactly at 4 p.m. on the dot I would demand food. Anyway, one day they changed the clocks because like you have that Greenwich Mean Time thing. The clocks go forward or the clocks go back.
Oh my god! Did you preempt the clock?
I freaked out. So apparently the clock went forward. I climbed in my or back. Hang on, I've got to work this out now. Yeah, the clock went back. So I climbed in my high chair at what I thought was 4, but I couldn't tell the time. And like my mom was saying to us, like, no, Daniel, you know, like I'm a baby at this, like I'm basically like just older than a baby at this point. And they're like, no, Daniel, it's not tea time yet, you know, it's you know, yeah, it's only 3 o'clock. And apparently I freaked the fuck out. Like I went absolutely nuts to the point like where the neighbors came over because they thought I was like being abused and shit. And then like. And then as I grew up, there was more and more of these tendencies starting to show. So I couldn't play outside because it was too dirty. So what would happen is like my mum would tell us to go play in the garden. I'd go outside, and this is when I'm sort of like 4 or 5 and that. I don't remember any of this. This is just what I'm told. I'd run outside and I'd be out for literally 10 seconds. And then come running back in and go, Mum, wash me hand, and make her wash me right hand. And then she'd go, okay, now go play.
Just your right one.
Apparently, because I guess that was what I touched things with, or like maybe I'd like touched a slide, or like I say, I don't remember any of this. So then I'd run back, and then I'd go back outside for like 10 seconds, and then I'd run back in and be like, Mum, wash me hand. It's dirty, and she'd be like, there's nothing on there, and I'd be like, wash me hand. So she took us to the doctors, and she was like, well, can I have my child tested for autism? And apparently the doctor had said, oh yeah, this kid's, like almost definitely has autism, but he's very high functioning, and he's intelligent. They gave us like a bunch of exercises to do or whatever. Again, I don't remember any of this. He's intelligent. You shouldn't. It's like if I were you, and this is like strictly off the records kind of thing, I advise you to not pursue this any further. And my mum was like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, once he's labelled as autistic, that could actually hinder him at this age, because it might determine, what schools take him on. It might determine like what options he has in terms of just nurseries and like different education routes. It could also give him like some help, but I don't think your son needs that help. I think he'd be better off having full access to like a normie education, and just putting them through like. And he says another thing is actually at this younger stage they can outgrow it, so you don't actually want to have this label on him that could potentially be a label that he's got for life that might, I mean, maybe the doctor was over worrying, but he was concerned, it could prevent us getting jobs or whatever. It could mean I had to go to a special school. But well, for whatever reason, that was what he said, and he sort of pushed me mum off going to the doctors. And so, yeah, that happened, and my mum's telling us all this, and I was like, I literally had no idea about any of this. And she was like,
that was the point.
Yeah, she was like, I thought I told you. And I was like, no.
she told you, wow.
I was like, no. So, anyway, I just like, she was like, yeah, so I've always thought you were autistic. A doctor basically told us as much. And I was like, all right. And I didn't think now of it as it happens. And then like a year later, I was at the doctor's for something else. I think actually, like, if I'm completely honest, it was a depression checkup. And then what happened was the guy had said something like, do you have any, like, rituals? And I was like, what do you mean?
Oh, boy, here it comes.
And he was like, well, do you have anything, like, you must do? And I was like, no? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. And he's like, well, like, in certain conditions, do you have to do any activities? And, like, the more you guys think about it, I was like, oh, yeah, I can't walk under signs. And if I'm on a metro...
I have that.
Yeah, and I was like, if I'm on a metro and I go over a bridge and the bridge has a body of water under it, I have to lift up my feet.
Oh, well, that's a bit random.
Yeah. Oh,
I just fear that the signs will fall on me.
Yeah. And then...
Is that what you have, or do you just not like the idea of walking under signs?
I just don't like it. I don't know. I don't know why I don't do it. I just stopped doing it one day and was like, I'm never going back to the old sign ways again. I was like, I have a new lease on life, and it's a world where I don't walk under signs. And like my colleagues in the office, when I like worked at the previous job, and like now the ones that work with us now, they used to make fun of us because we used to go to lunch, and on the way there'd be like road signs and stuff, and I would literally like walk up, stop, turn, walk forward, turn around, and like walk around the sign as they just like, you know, would collectively walk under it, and they'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd just like, "Oh, I don't walk under them." And then
How
like,
compulsed are you to do that?
I don't even notice I'm doing it. So I actually did it.
You could walk under it if you wanted to, right?
I don't know. I'd rather not.
Oh my god!
It's weird. I can't explain it. But
what's the third thing that you're gonna say?
This is how bad it is. The sign thing, right? I actually did it on a first date with a girl without realizing. I'm
looking for a girl that doesn't walk under signs. Very specific.
I was walking at home. We just had like a first date. We'd been to the pub, and I'd sort of talked back. Like we'd really hit it off, and I walked her home, and on the way, I don't know what it's like in Austria, but we've got like, you know, the road signs are actually like on the path a lot of the time. So like you have to walk under the road signs. They're just like to fill the path. And so we were walking up to her house, and then on this path was
I guess they're definitely on the road, yeah.
Yeah, and on this path there was this road sign. So I literally let go of a hand, turned round, walked around the sign, and then grabbed hold of her hand again on the other side. And I didn't even click on that I'd done anything weird. Like, it was literally so subconscious. And she's like looking at us funny. And I was like, what? And she's like, why'd you just do that? I was like, just do what?
That's amazing.
And she's like, you walking around the sign? You like literally let go to walk? And I was like, oh shit, so I did? Yeah, sorry.
Exposed.
I just don't like walking under signs. And it's like, it's not until people point it out that I'm like, yeah, that is peculiar behavior. Anyway, so the doctor like got us to do like a bunch of tests, and then he made a bunch of notes. He mentioned that like I didn't make eye contact with him like the whole time I was there, which I didn't notice I was doing. And basically he all but said, he was like, look, you've definitely got some form of autism. It's not impeding on your life, but like I think you've probably got Asperger's. The only thing it'll do is maybe like give you some lack of social awareness, which I do have in certain circumstances. I'm not an antisocial person per se.
Like when you walk around signs.
Yeah, like when I walk around signs, and I think that's a totally normal thing to do. But like other times, like I've been known to like one of the things I do really, really often, especially with friends, and it gets to them a lot, is I will be having a conversation. Let's say it's about like a movie or something, and I'll just keep talking and talking and talking and talking and talking forever, and they like make it clear like this. Like, I'm bored of this conversation, like, can we move on? But I just don't pick up on those cues, so I keep talking on it. And then they get angry, and then, like, they'll get annoyed with us. And I'm like, oh, I thought we were, like, having fun. Like, I thought this was really fun. It's like, no, we're having an argument. And I'm like, oh, shit, are we? And, like, I'd never, like, I have this big thing where, like, I never realize I'm in an argument until it's, like, too late. So, you know, I told the doctor about that and all that, and like I say, he goes to do like he asks us a bunch of different questions. They're marked us on like this scale, this like numerical scale based on the answers and that. And yeah, and then he basically says like, yeah, I think you've got autism, probably Asperger's, which is like a form of autism. The only thing it's going to impede you in is social situations, and there's always like you seem to have already like through your life developed like your own little tips and tricks and methods of coping, which is apparently like a thing people do, where like they have like little, you know, I mean I could get really into them, but like things that I've become aware that I do, but like I just end up going on and on forever. So he says like, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like I think you've got autism, you know, as a general practitioner and registered professional. However, I can't diagnose you with it. The way it works in Britain is the doctor can't diagnose you with autism, especially on adult, without a second opinion. And the second opinion has to come from, I think, a social worker. which is pretty weird.
Oh wow!
Which I think it's very strange.
That's totally something the British government will come up with. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yep, a social worker. That's who determines it.
Which doesn't make any sense to me, because like the doctor has said that I've got it. You know, the doctor who's an actual professional, but apparently he needs the second opinion of a social worker. Admittedly, it is a social worker who specifically works with autistic people. So anyway, this all happened like around like sort of midway in the August Club, I think. I can't remember now.
You actually had time to go to the doctor about autism, huh? Wow.
It was after shooting and before editing it started, so I'd finished shooting, but I hadn't started editing. And because obviously editing, I'm not reliant on like people coming down from Manchester or like having to go all the way up to Scotland and stuff and other people's schedules. I was like, right, well now I'll take the time to go to the doctor, because it was actually about it was like I say, it wasn't even, I didn't go to get checked up on autism. It was just something the doctor kind of clicked onto while I was there. He was like, this guy's a little strange. I'm gonna dig deeper. And then he was like, by the way, I think you've got autism. And I was like, I suppose that makes sense, because, you know, my mom said all that stuff, and he was like, yeah, I'm not surprised. So anyway, I get a letter through the door a few months back, and it tells us that I'm going to get the second opinion in, get this, a minimum of 12 months' time.
Oh, so you're actually required to take this?
Yeah, I'm 100% required to take this.
What are they going to do?
It's not going to be at the doctor's. So I've got to go to. I don't know where it'll even be. I don't know. Like, I don't even know if it'll be in this city. You know, like. But basically, that the NHS has got like so, I guess, little funding dedicated to like adult learning spectrums that it takes 12 months. So literally a whole year. So I need to go to this appointment sometime. I assume like I'll get a letter telling us where my appointment is in fucking August this year.
Oh wow, that's fucking insane. So the August really is the horror month anyway.
Yeah, or something like that. Well, like I say, I don't know. Like I'm finding it quite a good thing that I've kind of got that idea.
That's actually pretty brave that you're just telling me this, huh? Pretty good that you're just coming out as possibly autist.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like I feel pretty fine with it, like I say.
But then it's also pretty scary, because I guess some of those things I definitely do, but then I can like avoid doing them. So I don't know can you avoid like that stuff where you get into arguments and you don't realize it? Can you like try to not do that again?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well that's good then. There's hope.
Yeah, so I actually, here's the thing. It actually turns out a lot of my friends, so I've got like, I would say like 2 distinct groups of friends in that I hang around with all of these people, but one sort of group of them doesn't know the other group. So like, you know, like, you get what I mean? Yeah, essentially, it's like they know of their existence. They're not like enemies or something. It's not like they don't like each other. It's just like some of them are my friends from college and uni, and other ones are my friends from like nerdy conventions and stuff. So I just, you know, kind of sort of dip between the two. And it turns out it would be the ones from nerdy conventions, of course. It turns out that actually all but one of them has either been diagnosed with autism at a young age, or is going through. So, and one of them is going through the exact same process as I am now. When it ended up coming out in this like big conversation, and
I guess it's not so surprised because I totally see some of those things. I mean, I don't know if this is the same, but I don't like walking under cranes and really heavy signs. I don't know if. I guess it's not the same, is it?
It depends. I guess it depends on your reasoning, because like
I mean, I don't want to get crushed, but I guess it's like very unlikely that a crane will fall over and crush you. But then, if it falls over and crushes you, it's too late, obviously. And it might fall over at some point. So if I walk under it fast, it'll be better.
Yeah.
So I usually like sprint under the cranes.
Well, I don't know. It's really difficult to determine, because I suppose for me, it's not like a fear of getting crushed or anything, and I think that almost makes it weirder. Like, I don't have a reason
It's
to
really
not walk
weird.
under signs or cranes or stuff. I like ladders. It's not a superstitious thing or like a paranoia. I just don't like doing it. It's just different, and it makes us feel
Damn.
it makes us feel weird and uncomfortable. I don't like it, and I don't know why. It's just one of those weird things, and I don't know why I have to lift my legs up when going over a bridge with water under it if I'm on a train. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But
on a train, Jesus,
yeah, well,
that's
like,
even more odd.
yeah, well, metro train. The metros over here are basically just trains that are like sort of locally stationed.
It's a train.
Yeah.
I got a thing where I don't want to, where I subconsciously don't step on cracks, but then when I catch myself doing it, I try to ignore it.
Yeah. I actually have that a little bit too. Maybe
Of
I was gonna
course.
say maybe you got a little bit of, because this is the thing. It's such a complex kind of disorder that everybody is on the spectrum to some extent.
Oh no.
From like what we understand, it's just some are more on the others, and the problem is in determining like how much do you have to be on the spectrum before you're like legally considered autistic, and autism. See, because I've sort of been learning a lot more kind of about it since like this potential diagnosis, I guess, and through my mother and through the doctor and stuff, and autism is such an umbrella term that it almost doesn't really mean anything, because you know, some people who are autistic are catatonic, and some people who are autistic have like a tendency to, you know, can't verbally communicate other than by like sounds, like screeching and stuff, you know.
Oh yeah, those are the best ones.
And then,
autistic screeching is the finest.
Yeah, and then there's like, you know, like I remember telling my girlfriend, like, the doctor thinks I'm autistic and that, and she was like, well, clearly you're not. And I'm like, well, apparently, you know, like, high functioning autism.
Is this the girlfriend that where you had to step around the signs?
No. That was that like.
Does she know about the signs?
My current girlfriend, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it had to come up eventually.
I guess, yeah.
Like when we're walking around, I walk around the signs. It's just.
How many signs are there on the average?
Oh, in Sunderland, there are. Well, put it this way. Whenever we go for lunch at the office, because I'm poor at the moment, I generally have a packed lunch. But generally, what we do is we go to this, like, to grab like a meal down like the road at a pub or the subway or whatever. There are 3 signs on the way, and I have to walk around each and every one of them. So it's just there's quite a few signs just scattered as you walk. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah. So anyway, I found out like all my friend group are like autistic, and I was like, that's like at least one of this one anyway. Apart from one person, there's one person in that friend group who's a total, you know, normie, as the saying goes.
Yep.
But I was like, that's really weird that we're all, because I had no idea that they were, and they had no idea that I was.
He's just pretending to be a normie.
Yeah.
Get him.
And then they started noticing things in me as I started noticing sort of quirks in them, and I think it was because me and one of the mates like were both getting diagnosed at the same time, so I guess we were on the lookout for those things more. And then in the ones I noticed in the guys who were like already diagnosed and the girl who was already diagnosed, I was like, oh shit, yeah, no, I totally, like what the doctor was talking about the other day, you're totally doing that now. Like obviously I didn't say it out loud, but I like thought it in my head. And then one night I was staying over at his. Like, was after like pretty recently actually. It was because it was after the August Club had finished, and we're all just sort of like, hey, I can come round now. Sorry, I haven't seen you in, you know, months on end. Let's all have, you know, and let's all have a hangout. And I ended up like staying at his, and we all just stayed up pretty much all night, and we're talking. And we ended up talking about. It went weirdly. It was from. It was from the whole Logan Paul scandal we ended up getting on the topic, because one of the guys was worried that he understood like why the Logan Paul scandal was wrong, and he understood that it was wrong, but he didn't.
No, but he didn't grasp it.
He didn't feel it. Yeah, like he couldn't feel it. And then he's kind of like confessed, and he was like, oh, because like I'm like seeing this therapist, and like I'm going to doctors and that, and like he thinks I've got autism, and I was like, shit, no way, did you get the same 12-month letter? And he was like, yes. And then it was like, oh, and it was like this big epiphany thing, and then I was like, so hang on, is there anyone here who doesn't have autism? And it turns out like half of the 90% of this friend group has been diagnosed with autism like properly, and literally grew up having autism and knowing they have autism, and then me and this other guy are just getting diagnosed with it now. And apparently people with autistic tendencies tend to gravitate towards each other, so like, because
those damn normies walking under those signs, we gotta get rid of them.
But and that's like, I mean, don't get us wrong, I'd be friends with these guys either way, they're cool as fuck, but I think that's kind of interesting, and like now that you mentioned it, like I totally see it, because we do things like that. So like, for example, me and I have to keep saying like one of these guys because I don't want to name them, because it's not really fair to out this person. No. Like if he's not ready to sort of talk about that. But so one of the guy who's currently going through the autism diagnosis process, he was talking to me. We will regularly talk for literal hours on end. Like, I know everybody's like, oh, we talked for hours on end about the new Star Wars movie. Like, we will literally talk from like 6 at night.
You should record that. Yeah. Oh wait, no, it's too long. Actually, never mind.
6.
Just like this is getting too long.
Yeah, this is actually getting too long. We'll
who knows if we'll even have time for Black Panther?
Yeah, we'll cut it soon after I finish talking about this. So we will literally talk from like 6 at night till 6 in the morning about, I don't know, like we've done it about Metal Gear Solid 4 at one point as an example, and everybody around we is like, why are they oh my god, I wish they'd stop arguing. And everybody thinks it's like everybody thinks it's like a really like toxic,
all the things have been combined.
Yeah, everybody thinks it's like people look at me and this guy, like I've had people say like, oh, can you settle down, lads? And like we've both turned round to them and turned round to the people who've like told us to settle down. We're like, hey, what do you mean? We're having fun. We're like having a great time. Like, I love this. Like, and we genuinely love it. And we will just talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end. Because we just got that like I guess like obsessive mindset about the things that we care about, and whether that's a symptom of autism or whether that's something that we have as a commonality, and like maybe people with that commonality have autism. Like I don't know, but it's interesting that like I gel with, not that I don't gel with my other friends well, like I really do, but like I gel with this sort of group that I've just found is like all autistic, like in a completely different way. And like you wouldn't think any of them were autistic at face value. But like the more you sort of talk to them, the more you sort of like, and the more you're aware of like what to look out for, you're like, yeah, I totally see it. So like I didn't realize that one of them never holds my eye contact for like the first 2 months that I met him, until he said he was autistic, and then I was like, oh shit, yeah, you did literally never hold my eye contact like for the first 2 months I met you, and that's like kind of a little odd. And then like I was noticing other stuff and things.
Holding eye contact is so weird, isn't it?
Well, Are
you supposed to hold eye contact with people?
I don't
know.
I don't get it.
Who would do such a thing?
It's not. I don't know. That's apparently one of the symptoms, and I know that I don't generally hold eye contact, but I think you're supposed to like at least look at their face, which I'll only do with people I'm extremely comfortable with. Like,
so it's like a minefield. You gotta look at the face, but not the eyes.
But this is the thing.
Either that, or just normal people just hang out and then they gaze into the eyes. Yeah. For long times, even if they're both male and not gay. It's just really weird.
This is the thing, and this is what you were asking us before. Like, can you stop that? And it's like, yes.
Well, it's just curious. But not telling you to stop or anything.
No, totally. I understand that. But but what you're saying is, like, I was always of the opinion that, like when the doctor was saying like, oh, you do all these things, it's like, yeah, but I could stop it, I think. Like some of them definitely
stop whenever I want.
Yeah, some of them I definitely could. Like if someone if I concentrate on holding gaze with someone's face. I can absolutely do it. But it's... And so I didn't think I was that autistic because I was like, well, no, because I can't do those things. But like apparently, like the more I talk with these other people who I now know to have autism, they're like, yeah, like when I look at people's faces, like I have to really concentrate on doing it. And I'm like, well, yeah, so do I. And they're like, yeah, do you not know that's an autism thing? Like you have to like think about what you're doing, whereas normally it's a subconscious reaction, you know, it's something people do anyway. And then like and you get a lot of crossover like that. And so as the more I was talking to this group, now that once it came out, like, oh, we're all sort of going through the same thing, the more I kind of like, they were saying things and they were going, do you do that? And I was going, holy shit, like I thought I was the only one. And then I was like, hang on, do you do this? And then they're like, yeah, like, and do you have to, you know, put on so like I could go into like basically the crux of it is at this level of autism, again, assuming I even have autism, I do have to like make it known that I've not been officially diagnosed on paper, although a general practitioner does seem to think that I have it. From what I understand, it's perfectly normal for autistic people to have tips and tricks and make like conscious efforts to imitate you know, typical behavior of you know, normies, for lack of a better word, and then just use those tricks constantly and then not even appear autistic as a result. And apparently that's what happened with me, I guess. Because generally people wouldn't think I'm autistic. It's only like after getting a nose and like, you know, 6 months down the line, I might slip in something and they're like, that's weird. Why would that's strange?
But are there even normal people? Doesn't everyone have something that they do that they don't do because it would be weird?
Yeah, it's such a difficult concept to grasp. Like, I'm not even sure if I do get an autistic diagnosis, like officially, I'm not even sure what that means. Like, I don't it doesn't change anything for us. I think it makes us a bit more comfortable in my own skin because I can kind of explain away some of me idiosyncrasies, but like it doesn't mean anything, you know what I mean? Like, it just means like it's just like I am the way I am anyway. This would just be a certificate saying, yes, you are now scientifically the way you are. And it's like, well, yeah. Like,
great.
You know what I mean?
So do you think this is why you don't give scores then? Is it because you just got this weird quirk where you're a movie reviewer, but you don't give the movie scores? It's like a painter who doesn't use straight colors and only uses colors that are mixed with other colors, because otherwise it would be weird to him.
Yeah, I don't think it's why I use... I don't think it's why I don't use scores, but I think some of the way my mind works is like, I don't think I'm an emotionally cold person, but like I do feel like, you know, I have to find the logic in something. Like to sort of give an example, a couple of my friends, and I've got to be careful how I phrase this in case anybody...
Not again.
Yeah, but a couple of my friends were angry with another one of my friends, and they were all upset with her. They were all upset with her. And I was like, but why though? And they were like, well, she did this thing. And I was like, yeah, but it doesn't affect us. And she was like, and they were like, yeah, but she didn't tell us, and that's like a betrayal of our trust. And I was like, yeah, but it hasn't hurt us. And like, I'm very sort of like cold, logical in that sense. Like, I don't think I'm an unsympathetic person. Like, I quite often, you know, I don't, this isn't to brag about this, but like I do find that quite often, like I do have like a lot of friends who would come to us for emotional advice and stuff, which is like traditionally not what an autistic person's good at. You know, we are generally seen to be like cold and unfeeling. I mean, I say we, again, I must stress, I haven't actually got a diagnosis, the doctor thinks I've got it. But yeah, we're generally sort of depicted as like cold and logical. And I don't think I'm unsympathetic, but I do think I've got that logical side. And like, logically, to me, the grading system frustrates us. Like, whether it's numerical or letters, and kind of get away with letters a little bit more. But logically,
I know it was the autism.
Yeah, logically, it just frustrates us because it doesn't make sense to us. And like people can argue, oh, but it just condenses your thing. And it's like, yes, but you're putting numerical values onto subjectivity, and people's numerical values are different to other people's numerical values, and it just
everything is subjective. God damn it.
Yes, but but I don't see everything subjective 100%, especially when it comes to film reviews. But I just don't see any benefit in me going, I love this movie, 7 out of 10. I love this movie.
What if you would just say 7 popcorns out of 10? Would that be better?
No, that would be just as bad.
It wouldn't be numbers. It would just be popcorns. It'd be fine.
It's the number comes before the popcorn. It just.
Oh no! It's no escape.
It's literally like it doesn't compute with us. It doesn't like. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Jesus.
Like the whole, what was it? The IGN thing. 7 out of 10. Too much water. Like.
What game's that?
It was a Pokemon Ruby, Omega Ruby, I think. Got 7 out of 10, too much water, and it became like
water levels do suck, though.
They do, but like
they're really bad.
But yeah, but it wasn't particularly water level based. It's you don't go into the water. It's just like another terrain that you. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked again.
Too much water.
but yeah, it's like it's frustrating, and like I thought you would have known that meme, so it's not so great an example.
It's hilarious though.
Yeah, but yeah, it's sort of like that for me. I'm like 7 out of 10. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't know what anyone. So, I mean, for example, right? You're saying to me like, as long as I stay consistent within myself, but the majority of my viewers aren't gonna know of my own consistencies. They're not gonna know how I like kind of score things.
Oh well, that's simple. Just fuck them.
Yeah, but the score is for them. It's not for me. I know what I score things in my head. So the only thing
well, the score would be for those who care, who actually want to know what you think.
Yeah, but if they want to know what I think, they can watch the review. Like, it's quite clear what I think. And then there's other things where like I'll.
Well, not that clear apparently, because I thought you gave Black Panther a 10, but now it's only a 7.
Well,
so what is it now? Are you becoming racist? Is it getting less than 7 next time?
It's a 7. It's a 7.58. But it's just like this is the thing, right? If I gave Black Panther the numerical score I think it deserves, people would have took issue with it. Because
well, fuck him.
No, I know that, but like I don't even care enough to give it a numerical score. So it's not like if it was like, oh fuck them, you do what you want. It's like, but I don't want to do that. I don't want.
The social justice warriors have won. You've been censored.
It's definitely not that. No, it's like if I because I go on in that review and I say a lot of good things about the film. And I stand by everything got to say about it. I think it's a great film. I think it's a lot of fun. If I then go 7 out of 10, people will go, or like 8 out of 10. I'm still. This is the thing. I don't even know my own numerical system. I'm not sure which of those it falls on. People will
just gotta get used to it.
Yeah, people will go. What the fuck? This sounds like a 10 out of 10 review, but then you say 7 out of 10 at the end, and it's like, well, yeah, because.
Well, there you go. So basically, you clearing it up rather than having a review that sounds like 10 out of 10, and then you actually you didn't praise it that hard.
Well, no, but I all of the praise like stands up. It's just when you put a numerical value to it, it just.
If anything, that's more subjective, because otherwise you'd be bringing up more of the flaws. But I don't think you brought up a whole lot of flaws, did you?
No, because I don't think it's got that many. I mean, definitely has flaws.
Well, it's got 2 out of 10 flaws apparently, if not 3.
See, this is the problem. This is like the fact that I'm able to argue these weird like nitty gritty semantics shows how broken the.
Well, why is it a 10? Tell me.
It is not a 10.
Well, why?
It's a 10,000
tell me why.
Wow.
So you got these numbers in your head, but you can't explain them, huh?
Yeah, because
how crazy.
So for example, right? I'm trying to think of like 2 films that would make a good example. So like, I don't know. Let's say I think Black Panther's a 7 out of 10.
Is it gonna be The Room?
No. Let's say I think
of an example when a numerical score fails.
Let's say I think Black Panther is a 7 out of 10, which I'm not even sure that I do. But let's say I think Black Panther is a 7 out of 10. And I also think Spider-Man Homecoming's a 7 out of 10. Right? But
well, that's perfect. I hate both of those.
But I prefer... See, I was going to say I prefer Black Panther, but then I'm like, I'm not sure. Do I prefer Spider-Man?
Well, see, there you go. It's perfect.
No, but I wouldn't put them on equal levels. I think one of those films is worse than the other.
Yeah, you can't say you prefer it.
If I give them both 7 out of 10... Right, okay, so...
Well, how does that work? You say you don't prefer Black Panther.
Because it's context sensitive, isn't it? Like, so like I think right. So for example, I think Black Panther is a less flawed movie in the sense that the villain works, whereas I think Spider-Man: Homecoming, the villain's really strong, but he has that bit. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen Spider-Man:
I actually love that villain.
Yeah, I love the villain in Spider-Man: Homecoming, but he has that bit where, again, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, where he like accidentally kills that dude and he just sort of shrugs it off. And I feel that like that's an inconsistency in his villain. So the villain in Spider-Man does not work as well as the villain in Black Panther for me. However,
come on, man, you're being silly. He's a black market arms dealer. Why would he care if he's killed one guy?
No.
How many people are gonna get killed by his arms dealing?
Yeah, people don't rationalize it like that, though. That's not how people work. Like, I've known...
Maybe he's autistic. Maybe he's just... Maybe he just thinks logically, not emotionally.
I have known, like, hardcore drug dealers, and, like, their drugs are probably gonna, like, kill people or, you know, give people, like...
Well, but that's not the same because the people choose to do the drugs. There's other people who choose to do the drugs and they they actually benefit from them.
Oh, no, 100%. I'm not anti-drugs at all. I'm not anti-drugs at all. But what I'm saying is they will give people, like... So, like, I know a guy who, like... I don't know, fucking deals cocaine. Like, I know a guy who knows a guy and he deals cocaine. And that
but
guy,
it really isn't the same, though, because...
But that guy, right, okay. That guy, I know for a fact, has dealt cocaine before to someone who then took the cocaine and then, coked up out of his face, proceeded to assault several people.
Oh, well, okay, I guess that's something.
So... Yeah, the guy, I totally understand where you're coming from. If you give drugs to someone and they choose to take it, that's on them. But, like, this coked up guy did hurt someone who had nothing to do with a drug dealer. Now, the drug dealer doesn't mean he's capable or, you know, wants to, or is fine with assault.
But actually...
Like, he was mortified by that.
Maybe the guy was worse at assaulting the guy than he would have been if he had been buying guns.
Oh yeah, but that's a whole different conversation. Now we're just arguing semantics. I'm just using an allegory to explain myself.
Maybe he would have even been worse if he hadn't bought cocaine. Maybe he could have assaulted him way more efficiently if he hadn't been high.
But like, right, okay, so here's an example, right? Like,
okay,
as much stick as President Trump gets, right? Like, he is
all fake news.
Well, I don't know about that, but that's a different conversation and another one that goes ages. But as much stick as President Trump gets, as much like sort of criticism as he gets, and you know, some of it's viable, some of it's not. But as much criticism as he gets, I don't think he's capable or dismissive of straight murder. Like, I don't think that he is.
What a charitable view of Trump you've got. Amazing.
Yeah, well. You know what I mean? Okay, well we'll use Obama. Okay, as an example, right? We'll use Obama.
Okay.
Just to stray away from like the more controversial figure, and we'll use Obama because he's sort of a bit more acceptable to talk about, and he's no longer our current president. So we'll use Obama. So Obama, right? No matter how much you dislike him, you're probably of the opinion that he does care if people get shot in front of him, or if he accidentally murdered a dude. However, we do know for a fact that Obama launched illegal drone strikes that did kill people. There's a unless this is what I'm saying, like, yeah, that guy might be an arms dealer, but he would still react to accidentally killing a guy who was his mate in front of him when he was like, oh, I thought this was the gravity gun. Like, and I feel like that character doesn't work. Like Obama and many presidents before him, and no doubt many presidents after him, and like there'll be things that we don't know about that have caused, individual issues that have like ruined people's lives. It's just the nature of leading a country will lead you to making decisions that will, fuck up things for a lot of people. Like, and using Obama as an example, he did the drone strikes, and it's like, but he's not. I mean, technically, yeah, his actions caused a murder, but he is not capable of murdering someone and feeling like in front of him and feeling nothing. Like, you're using the argument like, oh yeah, well that guy was an arms dealer. It's like, yeah, but the people do these logical leaps to distance themselves from their crimes. When people are selling guns, they don't think of all the people that are going to get shot with those guns. They think, well, they say, oh, I've got to make a living.
Well, they gotta be pretty stupid then, though. Jesus.
I don't think they do. I think it's a normal human thing to rationalize your own thing. So, like,
well, like, don't you think of all the innocent animals that are being brutally murdered for your feast every time?
Well, no, exactly. People nobody thinks of that. You generally don't think of that, like when you eat a steak, you don't think, oh.
Just fooling yourself. Yeah. Just think of the cows.
Yeah. But like when you eat a steak, you don't think, oh my God, a cow died for this. You think, my, what a lovely steak. And that's what I'm...
Well, it's only like 1% of a cow died for this.
Well, you know what I mean. But that's what I'm saying. Anyway, again, we've met on a
maybe I'm too autistic to get this point, even, because I wouldn't... I probably wouldn't rationalize it if I was doing that.
Maybe it just boils down to the individual, but I feel like the character they set up in Spider-Man believed himself to not be an arms dealer out of like malice and a seize for power. He was an underclass guy, like working class guy who just wanted a fair shot, and he was like, I feel like he rationalized his decision. I mean, he does it multiple times in the movie. He's like, he says, guys like you and me, and he's talking about like working class people. Like, he feels hard done by, and so he would make these mental leaps. And I feel like even though he is an arms dealer, if he accidentally shot his mate in front of him, he would have a bit more of a reaction than...
And not even that, he's not even just accidentally shot him, because that guy was going to be a huge problem. Didn't he just give him a death threat? So I think it'd be more self-defense than anything.
No, he kills the guy. He shoots him with...
I know that, but didn't the guy threaten him?
Yeah, but even still, the Vulture never intended to kill that guy.
Well, but what was he going to do? That guy was going to come after him if he didn't kill him.
I don't know. He hadn't thought of it yet. He was buying time while he thought of something. So because if you remember, he shoots him. And then the guy like dies, and he turns to his mate, and he's like, "I thought this was the gravity gun." And he's like, "Oh no, it's the devaporizer." And he's like, "Oh,
it's the murder gun."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh," and he just kind of like shrugs it off. And I don't know. I felt like he would have. Well,
maybe he was gonna kill him anyways afterwards. Who knows? Maybe he already had.
We never see any evidence of that though. Like he doesn't seem like a killer.
We don't see him drowning the kitties, huh?
Well, you know what I mean. Like,
damn it!
Like this is like,
this might not even been his first time where he had to kill someone.
But in the story we're presented, it is. It doesn't matter.
This is a tangent.
It doesn't matter if it's not his first time in universe.
So that's why Spider-Man would not be 7 out of 10, huh?
Well, and then this is your problem, because although Spider-Man has like that significant flaw and it has like occasional like issues here and there, I do think it's got more charm than Black Panther. And so now I'm like, well, do I mark Spider-Man worse because I think it's technically a worse film in terms of like character motive, but then also I think it's more charming, so do I rank Black Panther worse, or do I give them both 7 out of 10s, even though I clearly don't think that equal like levels of movie? It's difficult.
Well, I don't know, you seem to think they're pretty equal.
Well, maybe that was a bad example then, but there's other films I think there's other films I think I'll not give another example because we are literally on like the 2-hour mark now.
Maybe we cut this in part and it's like the second video is just talk about autism.
Yeah, could be because the first hour was all about August Club. Well, it's entirely up to you, whatever you want to do with it, mate.
Well, I'll have to see.
Oh man, so it's crazy shit. But yeah, there's other films I think are 7 out of 10s, but I think are worse films than Spider-Man and Black Panther, like definitively.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, it's pretty weak. It's just avoiding the responsibility of having to rate it.
I don't think so. Right, okay, here's an example. Catching Fire, the Hunger Games second film.
Oh, so gay.
Yeah, I think that's a 7 out of 10 movie. I think it's fun. Just the second one, don't get us wrong, I don't like the other ones. I think the second one's pretty good.
Oh wait, actually I was thinking of Maze Runner for a second.
Maze
God,
Runner
that movie's
sucks.
retarded.
Maze Runner sucks.
It's so bad.
Yeah, so Catching Fire, the second Hunger Games movie, I think that's a 7 out of 10 film. But I don't think it's as good as Spider-Man and Black Panther, not by a long shot. But then you'll turn around to us and be like, well, then it's a 6 out of 10. And then in my head, I'm right? But I don't think it's worth a 6 out of 10. I think saying it's a 6 out of 10 is too harsh. So then I've got to give it a 7 out of 10. But then they'll be like, oh, so that means you like it as much as Black Panther and Spider-Man. And I'm like, no, I don't. This is why the numerical system doesn't work.
Yeah, this really just proves how much autism is involved in not giving it numerical scores.
I have thought about this long and hard, and if there was in my head a numerical score system that worked, I would definitely use it because I like putting things in all these little classifications. But I just don't think it works, especially not when like interpreting something subjective. I mean, the 5-star system, you know, that obviously like originated, that was only made basically like as advertisements. It was something to put on posters. It was a construct of marketing more than anything. It wasn't like anything that added to the review. Like if you read a review that's you know, says 3.5 stars at the end of it, it's like that doesn't mean anything until you read the review anyway, because you don't know what this personal, like 3.5 stars to this guy might mean it's an amazing movie, whereas 3.5 stars to someone else means it's the worst movie ever. Like, people are funny like that.
Oh, God. That's pretty crazy.
Anyway, I do think we should wrap this up now. So, just because I have to actually leave at this point.
Subscribe for more autism. And remember to like the video and check out GeekyGlassesTV. It's a great channel that reviews movies but doesn't give them scores, unfortunately.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yep.
Oh, can I ask you a question and give you a chance to shamelessly plug?
Yeah.
When can we see Squid Invaders?
Oh no!
Well, I'm putting the pressure on you now, sir.
I mean, I really think it's going to come out in 2 months, but I'm not going to say it because I've like always been saying it's going to come out in 2 months, whatever I was working on, which is silly, of course. But now this is actually as close to done as any of my 3D games have ever gotten. Good. I suppose this year would be a good time for it to come out.
Well, if you ever have like an early look or anything, you know, sling it my way. I am very interested.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing an early closed alpha at some point.
I'm game for that. I'd be up for that.
I'll get a few people from the channel and some friends, and it'll be great.
That'd be fun.
And then everyone can marvel at my genius. It'll be great. Yep, putting squids in Space Invaders. It's never been done before.
You are correct. It hasn't. That is a true statement.
There've been chicken invaders and all kinds of invaders, but no squids yet. Yep. All right, subscribe and bye.
Okay, sweet.
Passing 100 meters. Oxygen efficiency decreased.
I'll just set it recording now. I don't know when we're actually starting the podcast or whatever, but I'll just have it going in the background.
Okay, I guess that's one way of doing it.
Yeah. So how are you doing anyway, fella?
Oh, pretty well.
How you been? What's up? How's Squid Invaders going? I'm liking the sounds of it. You seem pretty excited.
Oh, I am pretty excited. There's all kinds of stuff. I can't show you right now because I guess I kind of broke it, and also screen sharing sucks. But I'll bring out something soon.
Oh no, definitely. I'd be very keen to see it.
It's pretty wild. A whole new. Well, I guess it's like a roguelike in space, basically. But yeah.
I think it's amazing that you've took a break from making a game, and your way of taking a break was to make another game. That's dedication, man.
I really had to start something new because Poor Mouse was being too large of a project, and there was too much stuff that I did that probably needs to be redone, and so it was really good to just start over. But then it took too long already, so it's hard to even tell.
Got you, yeah.
Alright, so anyways, I guess we should probably start about the podcast then.
yeah, by all means. Hit us with your opener.
Alright. Hello, people of the tubes. Welcome to Game Squid, and welcome